Hello, it's Angela Wright here at Make Crypto Easy and Daily Crypto Fix, and I'm very excited to be talking with Trader Cobb. So Craig is going to be joining us and talking about what is happening in the markets right now, how you are applying your trading knowledge right now, and a few other insights that he has up his sleeve. So if you're ready, I'll introduce Trader Cobb, aka Craig, to you. So here he is himself, the man, Trader Cobb, with his screens. Good to have you here. Good to have you here. How's your day so far?
Busy, very busy. There's always just so much to do, but good day.
I
Getting through
know.
it.
Well, we're grateful to you for your 10 minutes or whatever we get here. And of course, what's on everybody's lips is what is the market doing and what can traders or even people that have just invested a little bit be doing right now? So the insights are interesting right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I just did a little segment with Alex Saunders from Nuggets News on the same thing, and I mean, my take on it right now is the best thing to do is nothing other than research. I'm physically not out there heavily trading right now. If Bitcoin breaks the fresh recent lows, that is breaks the low of I think 4 or 5 days ago, 3 days ago, that candle there. If it breaks the low of there, then I'll look for some short-term shorting opportunities. But look, at the moment, we've got this quasi-regulatory type of meeting on February 6th in the US, 10 a.m. New York time. So that's roughly midnight, I think, if I'm correct, there in Sydney. And they're going to be discussing things it's not a regulatory type meeting as such as they're going to completely regulate the sector, but they're looking at which they're going to list the securities, which will bring an air of regulation around it, which is a positive. And the best way that I describe it is a cruise ship takes a long time to get moving, but when it does, it continues to go in that direction. Right now, we're looking at maybe that cruise ship starting to move. So which direction it moves, will it go forwards? Will it go backwards? I think the market's waiting for that, and it could be what the market's waiting for, whether we go bullish further or we go further down.
Okay, got it. So talking about the short positions, let's deal with the bad news first, then the distasteful news first. Just talk a little bit about that. I think you like ACX in particular as a platform.
Yeah.
You do your shorts on there. Just talk a little bit about shorts, would you please?
Yeah, look, for me personally, and with the fund and whatnot, I use a company called IG Markets. And look, the reason I use IG Markets is I've been trading with them for, God, I think 11 years now. They're an international company. I was trading with them in London first, but they've got segregated accounts, which means my money is held separately. Mm-hmm. It's covered by law. It's an ASIC regulated firm. It's not in crypto space, but more importantly, I trust them. So the shorting positions I trade as a CFD or a contract for difference through their platform, because I know that they give me good fills, so there's no slippage. Slippage being if I want to get filled at 8,400, I get filled at 8,400, not 8,500, and therefore my risk is now $100 more, and I can't manage my downside as accurately. So I use IG Markets for that. You can do it across, there's so many platforms to do it across, but the reason I use IG for the fund especially is simply because I trust them. I know how they operate. I know how their order systems work, and I know that I don't get requoted very often at all. It gives me everything I need to be precise.
Nice. And that's one of the big reasons that we're with you, because we're all about risk mitigation. And part of that is that the money in the fund is protected in that way, exactly in that way.
That's the whole reason around it. As far as the holdings for investing, so, we're looking at projects that we might hold for, that we believe will be very strong in the next 6, 12 months and beyond. Those investments sit in a storage facility, which is, it's offline. So effectively, if anything you hold on the platform in crypto space, you do run the risk of hackers. We've seen that across the board many times.
Yeah.
We, for the fund, hold it in separate wallets. So if it's on platform, there's risk there. So we do not do that at all. As far as with, cash sitting in Australian dollars, it needs to be there so that I can get in and short or go long or whatever it may be in a trading sense. And I typically trade Bitcoin because I can get bigger positions with less slippage and it moves really, really well. that's my sort of focus in the technical trading sense in what I do. But it's in an off-market account, in a segregated account. I know the cash is safe. I know my positions are safe, and I know that our investments, sort of that short to medium term, which I call 6 to 12 months, they're off platform. So as far as risk goes, we've done about as much as we possibly can, but also as much as we can, whilst also remaining nimble if we need to.
Yeah, exactly right. And talking about the volumes, and yes, talking about trading Bitcoin or Ethereum, obviously those are the big guys, but some of our Make Crypto Easy people in particular are looking at doing some smaller coins. And I know there's a strong school of thought that says don't do anything under 50 million cap, because there's just not enough potential there. So would you just talk a little bit about smaller coins potential?
Yeah, look, the potential with smaller coin. Look, with smaller coins, you've obviously got a lot more of them.
Yeah.
So it requires a broader understanding of projects in the market and a lot more research. Now, I don't trade the smaller coins because trading to me requires me to get in and out, right? And to manage my risk very, very closely and very, very well. I mean, I'm talking to the dollar, right? I don't want to be having slippage of $100, even if it's a $10,000 trade. That's my money or my fund's money or my friend's money or whoever's money that is.
Yeah.
And it's not going to us, it's going to someone else, and that's not on.
Yeah.
So trading, I don't trade those lower coins just because I might not get the fills on the position sizes that I'm going at, and therefore the risk is inherently larger, but I'll invest in those. Now, you can trade those smaller cap coins, but you need to do it without leverage. So you need to do it in a way that, you go into your platform, you buy those tokens outright. I prefer those smaller cap coins for investing purposes, just simply because, they're going to be volatile when they move. You're susceptible to a bad order or the market spiking down. I see it on the charts. I call it optimal chart structure. They can be sometimes all over the shop. And for me as a trader, that's not on. I don't want that because it carries more risk with it. As an investor, if I'm investing in the project and I believe in the project and what it's doing and its team and its management, then I don't mind if it wobbles around a little bit because I haven't got a stop loss in place, which therefore means I can have a loss. Now, if I lose on an investment, I was wrong in that company or they failed to, no, it doesn't matter what they did. I was wrong because I'm the one making the decision if I'm investing, right?
Yeah.
But I was wrong. So I just have to wear that. And again, that's why on those smaller cap coins, we risk lower amounts. But the lower amounts that we risk, because of the nature of being a small cap, for a $50 million market cap coin to go to $500 million, well, we're looking at a multiple of 10 there. So we can risk less and look for a larger reward, but also understand that the risk on that project is greater because it needs to get known and it needs to execute its plan before we actually get that movement that's sustainable.
Yeah, exactly. Can you just expand a tiny bit on optimal chart structure? What do you talk about that?
Yeah, so clean, smooth, flowing, trending charts. That's the key to it. So when I say clean, smooth, trending, flowing charts, if you look at Bitcoin right now, it's in a clean, smooth, flowing downtrend. I want to see, if I'm in a trend, I want to see if it's an uptrend, higher highs and higher lows, nice and clean, flowing beautifully, moving averages in the correct order. And I use a 10 and 20 period moving average. If you want to look into all that sort of micro detail of how I do it and what I do, you can just check out the free stuff on the website. I'm not trying to plug it, so I'll let you.
That's right. We do recommend that, actually. We say to everybody that's in with us, check that out. So it's in our trading section, absolutely.
Okay.
It's some of the best work, so that's why it's there. Okay,
cool. So you can see how I approach the markets with that cradle zone and whatnot. Look, at the end of the day, I want my job to be as easy as possible. I don't go looking for trades. I've got a checklist that I work from. Now, from that checklist, I go through it and I'm trying to eliminate every chart. Now, most charts that I look at, I'll eliminate within the first 2 seconds of seeing it because A, it's not got a trend, or B, there's a trend, but it's not an optimal trend. These are the first two rules, bam, bam, it's gone. Now, 90% of the charts I look at are done that quickly.
Yeah.
Right? So I scan the top 100 every day. Then I go through the rest of my list, my checklist, and until I get to one where I just go, there is no reason for me to not take this. That's the trade I take. So I'm looking for reasons not to take a trade. Okay. Other traders, they'll look for trades. And I'll tell you right now, you might play funny games on you. If you're looking for a trade, you'll find one.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for trades. I'm looking for my checklist to be met. And if I find that there is no reason to take a trade, then I'll take that trade. And optimal chart structure is where it starts in those nice, smooth, higher highs and higher lows in an uptrend, or lower lows and lower highs in a downtrend. But we are a little bit more restricted in going short. For example, to the best of my knowledge at this stage, there is no reputable place to short against Bitcoin. And that's why I sort of focus on just Bitcoin for my short, and it's a hedge against the portfolio at the same time.
Got it. I think you're right in looking for, looking for why not to do something. It's a little bit like if you meet somebody, when one's young and naive, perhaps one always wants to give the benefit of the doubt, but actually you're looking for the red flags the whole time. And life's too short, right? And leopards don't change their spots and all of that. So that's why I run my crypto red flags list. If it's on the list, it's on the list, Yeah.
Bravo.
People don't change. Okay.
Couldn't agree more.
So what can somebody do, in your opinion, right now? Say somebody's got a fund with you, but they're having a bit of a play themselves. You must know this. I've got a competition right now. So everybody in my group who's invested with you, there's bubbly in my fridge. And I say, if anybody can beat you boys, they get the bubbly. So I reckon you're getting the bubbly every month, right? But we shall see. I'm pretty sure of that. Or I drink it.
We'll see. I mean, I need an excuse to come back up to Noosa again.
You do. Okay, yeah, but if somebody wants to have is having a go themselves, there's tons of ICOs coming out, of course, and some of the ICOs have been great, haven't they, in the past? Is the flippening happening? That's on everybody's lips as well. Is there any money to be made there, or what? So what's your thoughts? What can be done apart from research, which we're all doing?
I mean, look, I can only talk from my level of experience. I mean, as far as ICOs, yes, I'm taking part in some ICOs. I'm trying to get as many pre-ICOs as I can, not just for me, but for our exposure as a fund.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of my work right now is trying to get my name out there more, because the more you get your name out there, the more of a following you get, the more opportunities you get, and the more opportunities you get, the better off you can perform. So it's very difficult to get pre-ICO prices on good projects unless you're speaking with the people that are managing or running those projects. So it's difficult for an everyday person to do that without having a bit of a profile. But I mean, look, if research, yes, you got to do that. If you're investing, now's the time to be checking out not just your ICOs, but be checking out good projects that are now at a discount. Because the way I look at it is like this, if Facebook, let's talk about the NASDAQ, if Facebook falls by 30% today, is every other stock in the NASDAQ falling by 30% today? No. Why? It's a mature market. The players in there are institutional money. They know what's going on. They've got the fortitude to sit back and go, well, this has no direct impact on us at all. If I compare Facebook to Qantas, they're both international companies. The only thing they've got in common is that someone who uses Facebook might fly with Qantas. Yet the same link, which is minimal in cryptocurrency right now, is they're both falling at the same rate or not. So because of this irrational lack of education in the space, I think, and the massive amount of emotion that moves these markets, for those of you that are wise, who listed projects are already there. So that all the information that we need is already available. So we can go and find that easier than, say, just a pre-ICO or an ICO. So doing your research on good projects right now and picking them up at, what we hope to be bargain prices is really where I think a lot of money will be made. That's the investing side of it. On the trading side of it, I mean, look, if you haven't got a trading background like I do, then the only thing that you should really be doing is learning how to understand what's going on. If you can't write down your strategy into a written checklist, then the realistic side of it is you probably haven't got a strategy. And that's the challenge that I put out to a lot of people, is that if you can't write down, if you don't know why you're making money, then you can't scale that. You can't replicate that. You're just getting lucky. And that's the saying, even a turkey flies in a hurricane, that I use quite frequently. You find something that makes sense to you and learn it. There's no shortcuts, but researching for your fundamentals now, because it's a good time, I believe, and putting everything, all the resources, time and whatnot into something, someone, some method that you believe in and it makes sense to you. Because I can tell you when I started trading, I did other courses and bits and pieces of where somebody told me that they were doing really well, and they did. They did very well, but it didn't match the way I thought. It was like, okay, this is all algorithm-based stuff, and to me, that was like left-handed Swahili. But I thought, if this dude's doing it, I want to follow that. I want to get the results this dude's getting. But it didn't work with my head. So you got to find something that you first understand and then throw yourself at it and just practice, get as much of that as you can into you. There's not really anything else to sort of say on the matter, really, because it's education and experience.
Absolutely right. And I think when it comes back to investing, I think a real part of a strategy is to look at what niche you're interested in. So, if you're ex-banking, you understand the banking industry, therefore you might want to be looking at, some of those or lending or whatever. Or if you're into health, likewise, or supply chain or whatever it is, or ag fintech. But there's so much now, isn't there, in just about every sector, and there will be, of course, because we've got this massive new maths innovation that can solve problems that couldn't be solved before.
And that's why I've got so much faith in this marketplace. There's literally zero emotion right now for us involved at CRI, because why would there be? I mean, we've got enough invested of our own money. We don't just invest other people's money. We've been doing this ourselves for a long time. Well, the boys have been doing it for a long time. I've been trading crypto for about for a shorter period than some of these earlier adopters. But I got no doubt, because I understand what these particular projects we're investing in are doing. They're not just a rinky-dink little 2-bit company, like the .com, chucking cats.com and having $100 million company. These are companies that are actually needed. They're helping to benefit an industry or a niche within a certain marketplace that needs to be fixed. Like, think of Uber to taxis. I mean, that needed to exist, so therefore it does, and they're doing really, really well. There's a lot of industry like that needs a shake-up, and blockchain technology, not just cryptocurrency for banking and whatnot, but blockchain technology is creating a new platform to do business. It's also a new platform to raise capital. So I've got absolute faith in it. There'll be a lot that are, a lot of tokens that just disappear because they're worthless, just like there are a lot of companies that are worthless.
Absolutely. Cash grabs, and they're on my red flags list as well. But just very quickly, to follow on from your point, and I'm conscious of your time, you've got to go, I know that. Russia and Turkey have just done the first blockchain trade of grain, and that's bypassing the US dollar, bypassing the banks. That's a massive shake-up. And this huge shift of control of the money supply is not going to be worn lightly. And therefore, if last year was the year of FUD, this year, I think, and I'm claiming this, is the year of MAD, because it's about manipulation and disinformation. Big time. We've seen, China are banning crypto. South Korea are banning crypto. India's banning crypto, and it takes a little while for the respective governments to stand up and say, no, we're not. And it seems to me that's deliberate, because in the meantime, their citizens are merrily buying the dips while the rest of the world, apart from you and me and a few others, are shaking in their boots and selling. So that works very well for certain countries. But this huge, mad process, how can one expect to cope with that when these winds of change are so well financed by the establishment?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. You kind of answered your question in the question. Knowing that it's BS a lot of the time, and the only way you can know that is by knowing what is factual and what's going on. So it's difficult because in the media right now, I think we're finally starting to cotton on that, hang on, they might not have our best interest at heart here. There's so much, God, I hate to say it, but there's fake news. There's a lot of, there's around the journalism profession, there seems to be more of a race to get something out there first, as opposed to doing some quality checks and fact checking. They'd much rather sell, $200,000 worth of newspapers today, or whatever the number is, and then go back and say, oh, sorry, we said the wrong thing. than actually check and double check the sources and the information. So yeah, we are living in a realm of massive, intense amounts of information, but what is real and what is not is hard to decipher. The only way that we can work with that without having the emotional side of it is, again, it's knowing our place within that environment. So for me, somebody that I see all these people say to me, who do you follow? Who do you follow? I say, I follow nobody. And that's not to be arrogant, not at all. When it comes to trading, I know what I know. I stick to it. I'm not trying to reinvent things. It works. I'm not changing anything. But that's taken years to get to a point where no matter what anybody says, I'm not ever going to change. Now, when it comes to that level of conviction, we as participants within this blockchain community, that's our responsibility. It's our responsibility to be educated on the projects we're investing in, understand, don't have to understand all the tech behind it, because I tell you, I'm not the most techie dude, but understand what problems we're trying to solve and how that actually works. Because as a group, as a community, all of us, which are most of the market at the moment, because there's not huge institutional money in there just yet, hence why it moves around so much. If we're able to be smart as a group and educated as a force, we don't have to go through all this rubbish. We just don't have to. If everybody thought the way that, myself and the team do at the moment, which is, yawn, this is fine, then we wouldn't see what we're seeing at the moment. If you have a look at the top Bitcoin wallet addresses at the moment, they're usually quite dormant, right? They usually don't do a lot. They're actually buying at the moment. Now that says a huge amount. The volumes for sellers is relatively short or small at the moment, and it's causing the market to fall quite heavily. But the big ones, the guys and girls that were early adopters that have the most to lose, they're buying more. So again, it's understanding what this space is and educating yourself and knowing what to look out for. And then you can ignore all the crap. Like, I don't listen to Bloomberg. I don't watch CNBC. I don't go through and read all the news. I don't need to. I know my space. I've got my niche. I know what I do and I'm good at it. And if we can just get everybody in the industry or in this investment space to sort of have that sort of conviction, their own little world, will be a lot better off.
Yeah. Last point I want to pick up on you on there. And as for the news, we know actually the media exists to sell advertising. That's what their income is. And how do you sell advertising? By terrifying people into having to consume the news, because if they weren't afraid, you wouldn't bother. So that's just the way it is. Once you know that, you can take it all with a huge shake of salt or a salt mine.
Save your money and time.
Exactly right. But what you were saying about the institutional money and the volatility, for me, and what I'm so excited about is the countries who are adopting the sovereign wealth funds who are looking at this. And we know that the biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world is already investing. And a lot of the others are looking very carefully at this. And of course, they require very high levels of integrity, very high levels of security, full-on risk mitigation, a very strong team. But to my mind, the beautiful thing about that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that will help to bring stability to the market. And the other side is, what I think is even more exciting for countries is, imagine, do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Okay, so you know how powerful the Iron Bank is?
Yep.
Okay, so imagine if a country doesn't have to go to the Iron Bank anymore, because you don't. Imagine if a country's government, if a country's rulers and leaders can be in more control of their own destiny and less manipulated by private corporations like the Iron Bank. That's the really exciting thing, I think, for humanity, for sovereign wealth funds, for countries going forward. And to me, that seems like such a huge bonus. But tell me how difficult you think that's going to be to achieve. Would you parting words?
Oh, look, everything, it had better be bloody difficult, because nothing that's worthwhile having is meant to be easy.
There you go.
But we're paving the way for that at the moment. Touching the first point, the sovereign wealth funds, the massive money coming in and what they're looking at. The difficult thing that we face as an industry, as an emerging market, is that people say, "Oh, where are your results?" Well, this is a new area. It's not so much about what have we done, because we're just pulling people together now. We're at the forefront of a completely different industry. Making sure what we're trying to do is we're trying to get as much around having good reputable backing. So that might be merging and having a fund within underneath the title of a larger company, because to attract those larger pools of money, you do need to have that backing. No one's going to invest a couple of $100 million into your startup. Not at the sovereign wealth level anyway. Not in my view and not in my experience.
No,
so
I agree.
It's tricky. And while we knew we've got to find innovative ways to make sure they're happy, so that we get the money in, it helps the market, but also do it correctly. We want to make sure that it doesn't change the way the market operates and where the opportunity lies. So that's sort of answering point one. Point two, relaying back to the Iron Bank. I think it's a wonderful analogy, and that's another thing that I'm very excited about. Is power to the people. The interesting thing, or the difficult thing that we're going to have is, I think it will kick off more with the smaller emerging countries, because they don't all talk together. As we get higher and higher up, and you look at the NATO type countries, these countries talk together. So the powers that be, whoever they may be or may not be, they'll be whispering in each other's ears, and they might decide that, hang on, this is not really that good for us. And that's where the hurdle lies. Now, how we get over that, people power is the only way. And this again cuts back to the media. More bad media makes people, because I speak to people all the time, right? I do events, I'm all around the place, traveling around the country. And, even bumping into friends, talking trading and crypto, this, that, and the other, like, oh, well, gambling's fun, isn't it? I'm just like, unfortunately, you've got this perception because it's easier to not be educated and learn about a life-changing opportunity than it is to actually make an effort to get smart. And that's what we face as a hurdle. The media and whoever may, not just the media, but people may try and squash this industry before it really starts to fly. It's flying now. We need to see this market stabilize. We need to see the next run of bulls come back in to pick that up. And more people that haven't invested this time are now sitting back going, I'm so glad I didn't do that, you idiots. Will then go, oh, I missed out on buying Bitcoin when it was $8,000 and now it's at $25,000. Yeah. I watched it the whole time. We need events like this to rattle the door, shake the chain, shake the cage, and sort of say, hey, you can't ignore this. That's the way we give the people the power to then invest in the projects and to get wise and educated, because the best way to learn is to put your own money in, because then you are involved. And I think that's the only way we're going to overcome or put in place mass adoption to small, medium, and larger countries to get involved.
You're absolutely right. And I think there's just two facts that one can look at. If anybody really doesn't understand this game, you look at how much was Bitcoin a year ago. January 2017, a year ago, at the time of this recording, Bitcoin was under $1,000, and there's people crying and bleating because it's dropped now to, whatever it is, 8, 9. Really? From less than $1,000? And yes, sure, it went to a high of about 20. And yes, it's volatile, but it's a little bit like if I fly from Brisbane to Sydney or Brisbane to New York, my plane may go like this, but it's going in the right directions. But it's the same Bitcoin. And the other thing is, if anybody Googles USD to BTC, you just got to Google that, USD to BTC, and you can see what's happened with the US dollar from 2013, I might add. It's gone like this, and then it's bumped along the bottom. And that's the reality of people's fear. If they're relying on that in the future, it's just buying such a lot less. It's a bit of a tragedy.
And again, it comes back to me, Google's right there, CoinMarketCap's right there. All the information that people need is there. But is the desire to get that information there? That's what we're working on.
I think it can be overwhelmed, and that's my role really, is to clear away all of the confusion and just make it really clear and make crypto easy. That's what I do. And also have that integrity, you know, so risk mitigation, ethical wealth generation, no pump and dumps. No, I only started doing this because of all the Ponzi's and the scams and the frauds, seeing people getting ripped off because they have such massive marketing budgets from their previous ill-gotten gains. So it's about communicating right. So keep up the good work. Craig from CRI, we're super grateful to have had you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking time out from your busy screens, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Catch you later. See you later.
So that was great to have some of Craig's time. That's Craig Cobb, known as Trader Cobb from CRI, Crypto Revolution Investments. And this is what we were talking about, actually. That final little point was you can Google this any day of the week and you can see what the US dollar is doing against Bitcoin. And it's fallen pretty badly. So if that's your money in the bank back in 2013, this is the reality of where it is right now in comparison to Bitcoin. You can do this for any currency that you like, of course, depending on what your principal currency is. It's the same old story. And when people say, oh, isn't that risky, or is that safe? I say, fiat isn't safe. Not only do we have this issue, this very real issue of this massive devaluation against cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies are utilizing the blockchain and coming now the Tangle, and in the future probably the Lattice, which is all part of this huge mathematical innovation. First came about in the 1990s, comparable to Sir Isaac Newton's mathematical discoveries back in the 1600s, him and his friends in the 1600s, the greatest brains of their time, which identified how the planets actually move through the solar system, amongst other things. So the blockchain, the Tangle, the Lattice is at a similar level, and for the first time it's enabling us to have this security, this triple ledger, so that transactions do not need a third party, do not need an audit, or do not need a bank to verify. Everything from currency to loans to banking to supply chain to shipping to groceries to health, whatever you can think of, really, to farming, whatever you can think of. So that's the reality. And then, of course, we were talking about, well, what's happening on CoinMarketCap on any particular day. And yes, at the moment, it's absolutely huge. The drops are huge. Yesterday it was a green day. It's been green and red. Normally one would expect to see it looking a bit like Christmas with some red and green. But pretty well it's bleeding at the moment. But what an opportunity for all of you who may have thought, oh, if only I'd got in back here or anywhere here or even here or anywhere before here. Well, now we have this huge opportunity where it is down, and it may well fall again. If we look at over the last month, we saw this great dip here. Where were we? Went down, if I can get it in the right place, went down about 7.5. Oh, it was 8 there. But we actually saw it drop to about 7.5 US, 7,500 US. And then it came up again, and now we're back down here, in the low 8,000s. Absolutely amazing opportunity. We thought this was good, and then it rose again. So at the moment, we're in this downward trend. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes lower. But if I had that crystal ball, I'd solve world hunger, wouldn't I, straight away? And so would you. So we haven't. All we can do is look at, well, what are the odds? How can we mitigate our risk? So buying anywhere now in small amounts, if you're able to, could well be a good strategy. If you wait for the bottom, you may well miss it. Only a fool expects to buy at the bottom and sell at the top each time. So it's about mitigating that risk. But what an opportunity for anybody that's not got involved before or not got involved enough before. If we look at Ethereum, and this is super interesting, look at the difference between these two. I've been saying this for a while now. So Bitcoin did have over 60% of the market share. 60%. Look what we've got now. Look at how Bitcoin here is compared in market share to Ethereum. But look how Ethereum has fallen as well. So it did this bottom here. So let's just have a little look at what Ethereum has been doing. And of course, when you first buy, you need to know what's it going to cost you in your fiat. But then you really want to compare it to Bitcoin at the moment. Or you want to compare any of your other cryptos to both Bitcoin and Ethereum perhaps and see what's happening there. But if we look at what Ethereum's done, only since about 2015 here, and really look at where it's going. What a gift, really. What an absolute gift to be able to look at buying it in some of these lows if we want. And if you haven't looked at this site just lately, and I know a lot of people have looked at it in the past, but maybe not up to date, but I tend to show people new into crypto here. But just check out the Etherium Alliance. So this is all about the Fortune 500s who are using Ethereum right now, building their business on the blockchain right now. And this is not 5-minute wonders. These people have done their research. You're talking billions of dollars being spent here. And if you just click on members, this is kept reasonably up to date, so it's always interesting. There's often new ones here. But you can look at non-crypto businesses utilizing the blockchain and Ethereum because it makes sense for their business. It's more secure, it's faster, it's a lot cheaper, it's much more robust, it's immutable. So non-crypto businesses like Accenture, like American Family Insurance, and look at who we've got here, like Brain Capital, Broadridge, who else? Credit Suisse. These are not typically crypto companies at all. Cisco, Deloitte, and it goes on and on. Gibraltar Stock Exchange, who have an ICO launching actually in a few days. And if you're watching this the day it's filmed, then jump on the Gib Stock Exchange and ICO, because that may be quite interesting. Yeah, look at them all. All of these non-crypto. JP Morgan, despite what our friend Jamie Dimon, hashtag Jamie Dimon is a dinosaur, despite what he was saying, all the time he was saying, don't buy crypto, it's a fraud, don't do it. All the time, JP Morgan are building part of their business on the blockchain because it's sensible and because it works. Intel, Infosys, Microsoft, MasterCard, National Bank of Canada. The banks are really interesting. Santander, Rabobank, Samsung here, Scotiabank, SK Telecom. Interesting, very interesting, particularly when you see the non-crypto businesses utilizing this. Just as we were talking earlier about Russia and Turkey doing a big grain transaction movement, utilizing the blockchain. So they didn't use the US dollar. They didn't use banks. It was entirely on the blockchain. Now, this is big business. This is national and international level business. So imagine this shift that we're seeing, which is why I talk about cryptocurrency, the blockchain, this whole moment that we're living in now being the biggest social and financial evolution in human history. Because this now we have the ability to solve problems that couldn't previously be solved. That's the exciting thing. So again, Toyota Research Institute, Trident, WorldCore, you can look at a lot of these people, these corporations, mega corporations, utilizing, this is just one cryptocurrency out of best part of 1500 that's being utilized by large corporations. The UN is even using the blockchain now to manage refugee status, because of course if a refugee is forced to leave, if you're bombed out and you have to flee, you may not have your passport or your bank card. Your wallet may get destroyed or ruined. So how do you identify yourself? How can you possibly get access to the funds that you have to secure your family? So the UN now is utilizing the blockchain. So countries, governments, corporations, and just some of whom are listed here, utilizing Ethereum. So Ethereum, where did Ethereum go? Ethereum's here, of course. If we look at what Ethereum's doing, what a great time to be able to buy into a business that's changing the world in this way. And of course, Ethereum is, you might call, the world's blockchain. But then we have Neo in China, and Neo being China's blockchain, of course. Interesting to see what Neo is doing as well. And ICX, Icon, which is South Korea's version of Ethereum and Neo. A very, very, very interesting area. So you have platforms enabling businesses, and then you have very specific businesses. For example, like the D-Health Network, which is the world's first health bank, or Rise Housing, which is looking to provide a better solution for tenants and landlords. I think so. I'll just end here. This is Angela Wright, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope that's been helpful for you, and I'll see you inside. If you want to know a little bit more, if you haven't read The Complete Crypto yet, do. I wrote it took me ages. Diana Vu, Crypto Mama, who's our ASIC registered lawyer and a great trader. Diana took part in that with me, and we've just revised it, so it's called The Complete Crypto. You can get it at makecryptoeasy.com, so do have a read of that. And I'll see you inside our Facebook group, hopefully, Daily Crypto Fix, because it is addictive. It's exciting. This deliverance of autonomy back to countries, back to governments, back to people, and these teams of people coming together to solve previously unsolvable problems is so exciting. And to be able to invest in this, not only can you dramatically increase your wealth when you understand what's happening and you take action and you get the right people around you. My dad always said that's the secret. But you're also part of history, literally part of history right now. So I'll see you on the inside. Do get in touch. This is Angela Wright. Bye for now.